Greetings, BDR community, and thank you for joining us tonight. We're here in Seattle at the BDR headquarters.
Yeah, we're doing another live broadcast, and we've learned some lessons the hard way over the past few years. So we're doing a little soft opening here for a couple of minutes to make sure that everything is working, to give you a chance to get into your chair and to make sure that everything...
Oh, hey,
you know what?
live.
Turn the audio down. It's funny when you sent me that to proof, I noticed there was an audio clip with it. So anyways, okay, that's our teleprompter that was talking back at us, but we've got the volume turned down. It's funny, that didn't happen in rehearsal, but it happens when we go live. So yeah, thank you for being here. Ina, what should we be chatting about for a couple of minutes?
Well, I say it's Friday, and if I were you guys, I would, after a long work week, I would probably make sure I have a beverage. A beverage, maybe popcorn, something to eat, a comfy chair, maybe some friends that are joining you tonight. I know a lot of people watch these broadcasts with their friends joining them at home. So yeah, let's talk, I guess, about Wyoming.
Yeah, let's do it.
How about give me 3 words that describe the Wyoming BDR for you?
Okay, 3 words. I guess the first word has got to be wildlife. All of the BDRs have wildlife, but I think that the Wyoming had the most wildlife of any of them. It has more deer and antelope than people in the state, so that's notable. And some of the animals that we saw were quite breathtaking. I don't want to steal the thunder of the film, but definitely wildlife is the first. The second word is probably going to be 2 words hyphenated. It's going to be 2-track. A lot of BDRs have 2-track, but Wyoming has got more 2-track than any other route. And the roads that are in the background here, these aren't quite 2-track. 2-track is the narrow stuff that's got the grass growing in the middle of it. There's rocks and things hidden. Generally slower, smaller, slow speed roads that tend to be really twisty. And so the 2-track was just phenomenal on this. And while we're on the subject of that, it's really the third word has got to be flow, because all of this 2-track was so flowy, and it was just like the quality of it, but also just the quantity. The 2-track just went on and on and on. So that's I think the second. Am I 2 words or 3? I don't remember now.
You had 3 words.
Okay,
yeah,
I'm done.
And the 2-track was so fun and flowy. In fact, we dubbed the Wyoming BDR hashtag Mad Flow.
Yeah.
So you might have seen that. Yeah, for me, I would say I'll only give 1 word, and that's the remoteness. And you'll hear we say that word a lot in the film, but it really is truly the most remote BDR that we have in our system, which means you have to be prepared for anything, whether it's a flat tire or perhaps a chance that you didn't get that last room in the hotel and you didn't reserve it ahead of time. So just make sure you're completely prepared and self-sufficient when you travel in the backcountry.
Yep, help can be a long way away. Okay, the control room is waving their hands around feverishly over here. And by the way, if you're wondering at home, they're not wearing any clothes. It's kind of weird, but whatever. So I think they would like us to get started.
Okay, I'll do my greetings one more time for everyone who has joined us. How many people do we have right now? Wow, that's cool. Over 1,000 people. Awesome. Well, everybody, greetings once more. Greetings to our BDR community. We're here tonight screening the Wyoming BDR expedition documentary film. I'm Ina Thorne, and this is Paul Gillian. And we're here at the BDR headquarters. We're broadcasting live from Seattle, Washington.
It looks like we're somewhere in the backcountry in Wyoming, but this is just a fancy backdrop that Tim James made for us. But we are here tonight continuing our tradition of celebrating you, the BDR community, and bringing you a fun evening of adventure motorcycle entertainment. It's what we do. As many of you know, the Wyoming route, this one here, is our latest project. And the film has been touring for 3 months across the United States. We've had screenings in over 60 cities throughout the country. So this has been a fantastic film and year for us. And we just couldn't have done that without all of the hard work of our BDR ambassadors who help organize and attend these screenings, do Q&As, and really make them happen. We also couldn't do it without the motorcycle dealerships, the motorcycle clubs, and the individuals that spearhead these things and find a place to make it happen. And, lastly, our core, very small team here really pulls themselves inside out to pull this off in a short amount of time.
Yeah, so just a quick shout out to Robert Trefiro, our project coordinator, who coordinated all these 60 screenings. And then, of course, Derek Roberts, behind the scenes here, who's our social media manager, has been promoting these screenings and making sure you had the chance to attend them. But if you didn't, then we're glad you're here to watch this film with us tonight. So the plan for tonight is to screen the first part of the film, which would take about 40 minutes. And then we'll take a 15-minute intermission. We'll come back here in the studio and answer some of the route questions. And in fact, if you have a Wyoming BDR related question, make sure you put that in the chat, and we'll try to address that during the intermission. And then after the Q&A, we'll play the second part of the film and then bring you back here into the studio for a very, very special announcement. So stay tuned after the film.
So speaking of special announcements, tonight we're going to do something that we have never done before. For the first time in BDR history, this film will be available on YouTube for free starting tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So if you know anybody who should be watching this film who hasn't had the chance yet, you can let them know that they can watch it starting tomorrow, anytime, 24/7, anywhere in the world. They can watch it on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/RideBDR.
Yeah, and I want to share an interesting fact. Many of you know that we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Many of you might not know that about 25% of our funding comes from our industry partners. But the staggering 75% comes from individuals like you, people who ride the BDR routes, who use our online resources and support our organization year after year. So thank you so much. We really appreciate this tremendous community support of the BDR.
And if you'd like to support the BDR mission of creating and preserving adventure riding opportunities, we've got a special incentive for you tonight. Anyone who donates $50 tonight will receive this commemorative BDR t-shirt, Wyoming BDR t-shirt, and the route decal as a thank you gift. When you make that donation, please in the comments just include your t-shirt size and your shipping address when you're making that donation. And in the next 2 weeks, Ina and Robert will get those produced and shipped out to you.
Yeah, so to donate, simply go to ridebdr.com/Wyoming and click the donate button on that page. You will actually be prompted to enter your shipping address and t-shirt size, and we'll ship those out within 2 weeks. Again, thank you so much for supporting our mission.
And that deal is only good for the next 2 hours.
That's right. Yeah.
It's only good for the next 2 hours.
All right. Well, I think enough with talking. Let's get in the mood with some Wyoming BDR action. Derek, roll the film.
Since 1981, Motor Discovery has been providing turnkey adventures all around the globe. Our USA program offers world-class guided and self-guided custom tours, adventure bike rentals, and immersion training programs. Let our decades of experience be your guide and ride your next BDR with Motor Discovery.
So as we head into our second decade, a big goal of the BDR organization is to improve and expand on the experiences and resources we provide to our community.
We're always listening to the community, and what we've heard is that BDR riders would love to see more than just one route per year from us, and they really want some routes that loop.
So in addition to the classic BDR routes, we are excited to introduce the BDR X, a shorter BDR-style route that loops. A BDR X could be an excursion off of an existing route or something entirely new in an area where we're yet to bring a BDR to. These routes will be designed to only take a few days to ride, and we plan to roll out multiple BDR X's in the coming years, starting right here in Wyoming with the Red Desert BDR X.
Just prior to filming the Wyoming expedition, a few of the BDR team members and Chris Floyd from the Wyoming Outdoor Rec Office headed out with the production crew to ride and film the very first BDR X.
The Red Desert BDR X begins at the start of the Wyoming BDR in the small town of Baggs. And then it heads northwest on a 165-mile adventure through some of the most incredible high desert terrain. The roads are primitive and include a good amount of sand, rocks, ruts, and even some challenging ledges. In good weather, this route should be considered intermediate. But like most of Wyoming, some terrain can be almost unrideable when wet.
There are epic views throughout the Red Desert, but a major highlight is Adobe Town, a highly protected area with some really diverse landscape, including ravines, gulches, badlands, canyons. Definitely worth getting off the bike and exploring on foot.
The Red Desert Loop can be ridden in a day or two, depending on your riding style. But we got a late start that day and decided to camp out on Delaney Point. Truthfully, I cannot remember a more epic camping spot. We were perched high up at the end of the point, and we were surrounded by these steep drop-offs. And the canyon looked simply magnificent, and it was filled with rock formations that expanded out into the distance as far as you could see.
As awesome as that campsite was, we found out the hard way about the infamous Wyoming winds that night. After a sleepless night of our tents just being relentlessly thrashed around, we packed up early and headed back down to Baggs for a really good breakfast, and then we headed off to meet the rest of the BDR team at the Boyer Ranch.
I'm so excited to finally be here in Wyoming. This is our 11th route, and this route has been in development 3 to 4 years.
This has probably been the longest that it's ever taken us to create a route, so it's been a really challenging one for us to do, but I'm very excited about it. Just the remoteness. It's one of the most remote places that we've ever done a BDR.
Wyoming is a very special place. We have a lot of wide open spaces. We're not nearly as crowded as some other states when it comes to recreation. That's something we treasure, and we know that there's invariably going to be some kind of growth and change over time, but we just want it to be done the right way. What I'm proud of is what we already have and our commitment to trying to maintain as much of that as we possibly can.
The Wyoming BDR was developed in partnership with the Wyoming Office of Outdoor Recreation and Tourism. The 7 counties along the route fully supported the project and embraced our mission of helping to boost local economies with a sustainable new form of tourism.
We're out there trying to bring economic relief to small communities along the BDRs, and that's a really important part of our brand, and we're really serious about delivering on that.
This BDR route will bring riders from across the country and around the world to Wyoming in the coming years. And not just to the usual tourist hotspots, but to rural communities that will benefit greatly from a positive economic impact.
The small businesses along the route that offer food, lodging, fuel, and supplies will see a big influx in tourism dollars in the coming years, and in turn, hopefully will become BDR advocates and help us in our efforts to keep rural backcountry roads open and help us preserve access for adventure motorcycle travel.
The first 3 days of this trip were quite hard. Our film crew worked so well. I'm confident that this is going to be one of the best movies that we have ever produced.
There's basically 4 people on the media team. I'm kind of in charge of them, and they're my crew. And I tell you what, these guys know how to hustle.
We've got a pretty good system dialed in as the production crew. The most important thing is we want to tell a story.
My day job in Breckenridge, Colorado is a freelance videographer. On this trip, I'll be doing the drone flying for the Wyoming BDR.
My bike's completely full with stuff, so it's going to be slow going, but it'll be okay.
Yeah.
My name is Monty Trump, no relation, and I was the support vehicle / chef / mechanic. Having a support vehicle is vital because you have such a little time to film and ride. You have to have it on a trip where you're filming.
This was a special trip for me because I got to spend a lot of time with Bryce Stevens. He is the guy that started or created the Washington route and came to us with that idea. And he and I used to ride a lot together in the first maybe 3 or 4 years. And then for a variety of reasons, he was not able to do the filming projects with us. So this was his big comeback. This is a route he'd been working on for 4 years. And we thought it had the potential to be a really good route.
I'm pretty excited. This is my first route again. This will be the 11th, and we're finally getting to film it and ride it together.
Finally, on this 11th expedition, we have an equal amount of men and women riding. Wendy, she's a BMW Academy riding instructor.
My name is Wendy Nasons, and I'm a motorcycle instructor in training at the BMW Performance Center. My expectations for my first BDR were that it would be very intense. I was super nervous that I wasn't going to be able to do it.
And of course, Jocelyn Snow is back.
This is my second BDR filming expedition. When I was packing up in California, getting ready to head out to Wyoming, I kind of threw my back out. Injuring my back right before a big ride that wasn't ideal. And I found myself moving a little slower, getting on and off the bike just to try to not upset my muscles and keep them from spasming.
The Boyer Ranch was an amazing place. They have a main house with some rooms, they have some cabins. They also have a garage where if you have some quick things that you need to do to prepare for the trip. Coming from a big city like Chicago, seeing bags was a culture shock. It was extremely isolated and remote.
Roll into a lot of these small communities and it's going to feel very small. We don't have a lot of big cities or towns in Wyoming.
Our routes bring a huge amount of tourism dollars to these small, less advantaged rural communities, and it really makes a big impact. And I hope that those locals come to really love it and embrace it and to really enjoy the motorcycle clientele that comes through and spends money at their little stores and restaurants and gas stations and that.
The long-term strategy is to help diversify the state's economy because we want our economy to be more resilient and the lows aren't so low and the highs, they can be as high as they want. We just don't want a roller coaster economy.
We're on a really cool dirt road right now. Woo, it's gorgeous. One of the things about Wyoming is it's the 10th largest state by land, but as far as population goes, it's at the bottom.
It's very remote and the towns are very small. When you're out and away from these towns, you're in the middle of nowhere and you can be without cell service. You can get trapped by weather. You know, if you had a mechanical failure, same thing, you're in dire straits. So remote in Wyoming is more remote than other states for sure.
On our way to the start, I had a really near miss with the antelope. They are out there. There's a ton of them in Wyoming, so keep your eyes looking side to side and your speed down.
Be careful because sometimes they want to cross in front of you, and that's what they're trying to do. So you may slow down and let them go their way if you need to, but just be respectful of the wildlife and give them their space.
So this is one of those great moderate level roads that's not quite double track, but not quite the wide gravelly stuff. I'm pleased the riding's actually better than I remember it, and everybody seems to be smiling, and we've had no muck to speak of, a couple wet puddles. It's been really fun.
The terrain is nice, pretty smooth, gravel. The mountains are amazingly beautiful. Scenery, you can't beat it. Getting my BDR legs underneath. So before coming on this trip, I spent 7 months at the BMW Performance Center drilling in the fundamentals of body position and how to get through obstacles and that sort of thing. And so that really saved me for this trip.
Day one, I could tell that Wendy was pretty nervous. She's done a lot of training, and now she's out here in the real world, and we're riding some difficult terrain and a huge variety of terrain.
On my first trip, we came here in September. We thought it was a pretty safe time to do this, and sure enough, we got hit by a storm. I mean, I nearly froze to death just riding through the state on highways trying to get to the start. So I'd say it's the weather is probably the biggest thing I've learned from this and been the most shocking, is that if it gets wet during the riding season and if the winter hits early, you can be done.
We're winding through this dirt road, and there's some green grass on the sides, a little two-track, and kind of playing and having fun, some fun turns. What a way to start off. I'm so excited to see what else this Wyoming BDR has in store.
Thank you for that. That's what I think. That was some awesome riding. Those just sticky dirt, almost bank turns, lots of traction, just fun, twisty through the woods. It was just really amazing.
Then all of a sudden it opens up and there's all these aspen trees. It's beautiful.
In the morning we were in kind of open ranch land, which was fun, but now we're finally into some pine forest, more classic BDR type terrain. Some nice, easy, relaxing, flowing corners, so it's been a nice change from this morning.
So I'd say we're about halfway through the day. We're taking a short rest and getting ready to divide the team into two. We've got an expert section to my right and an easier main route that's going this direction.
Whatever it is, I think there's an adventure up ahead. The road went from a fairly graded road to this hill of sharp rocks. And I mean like layers of rocks.
What'd that rock do to you? Thing weighs more than you do. What happened?
Everything's good, except my brake pedal. It used to be a brake pedal. These tools come in handy, huh? I think
everything's so slippery.
This part is supposed to be over here.
Mm-hmm.
If it works.
Okay, I better stop before I break the woman's motorcycle.
No, it's all good. It was a good 30 minutes of rocks. Every type, the big round ones, the roly-poly baby heads, the sharp ones. What a blast.
So we just did the first expert section. You know, I'm pretty happy because we made it through, but at the same time, I'm absolutely gassed. It was hard. It was really hard.
Although that section was challenging, it was so worth it because at the top we were rewarded with beautiful scenery, alpine meadows that you could just roll through and really get into a rhythm.
So we were on the top of Bridger Peak. It's 11,000 feet and the air is real thin.
If I was going to nickname this section, I'd nickname it On the Rocks. One, because it's so rocky, and two, because when you're done, you need a gin and tonic. When we started the descent, it was really cool because there's still lots of rocks and roots, but you could get a flow to it. My smile was frozen on my face all the way down through this section. That's going to be a gem right there, either direction. What a lot of fun.
That section was one of the most fun sections I can remember on any BDR. Roots, rocks, it was like full-on enduro course on big bikes. Bryce and I were just laughing in our headsets. Oh my God, this is like an ORV park or some trail that was engineered for awesomeness on a big bike. It was one of the top sections ever.
And you know you're having a good time when you can't get the grin off your face. This is unbelievable. So much fun.
There's no fresh sandwiches, but we're gonna have some apple and sardines. Hefty prices, but you know, this food's worth it on the road when you're super hungry.
Now we're in an area where there was once a forest fire. This section feels like it goes on for a while, but it is really interesting to notice how all the vegetation and the ground cover is coming back, especially these purple and yellow flowers off the side of the road here.
There's a lot of pine trees that are dead along the way. What's that from?
This area suffered from beetle kill, which is taking down a lot of the pine trees. And you can see there's active logging and burning along the path that we were riding. It's kind of ugly and a little disheartening. It's probably 15 miles of that, which is unfortunate. But the riding's fun. It's just that the scenery has been through hell.
Look at these little trees. They're starting up again.
And there's the Rob Roy Reservoir off to my right. 9,500 feet. We're looking for our campsite.
Tonight on the menu is the Indian cuisine. We've got the vegan dal, we have some curry, chicken, rice, and Indian naan.
Wendy, it's huge. This is the first time I've ever seen a moose.
Every day we're encountering all different types of wildlife. Antelope, deer, bear, skunks, moose, they're all out there, and it's beautiful watching them.
I see a big puddle. Bryce says don't go through puddles here because they're like bottomless muck pits. But I have a reputation for smashing through water on BDRs, so I'm gonna try it, give it a whirl.
This is not necessarily the hardest BDR, but it's up there. I've been trying to think of how to describe it, and I think this route can be described as consistently challenging. Almost every day there's something that challenges you, whether it's sand or rocks or ruts.
The riding was spectacular, really flowy roads, and pretty much just had a smile on my face most of the time. About an hour into our ride on day 2, and we have another flat tire.
I think Jocelyn's got a little tear in the sidewall of her tire, and those guys are back there trying to fix it up.
So we've been looking for the puncture, and unfortunately we found it in the worst place you can have it, which is right on the sidewall. It's really hard to repair. So we're gonna get out our cruise tools kit and our stop and go plug kit, and we're gonna see if we can confirm that's the hole, and we're gonna try and plug it.
So we put a snake, and then we put one more on top.
I think that's what you do. Yeah.
That's a gash. It's unstable.
So we're on the Towner Lake Road. Towner Lake Road is a rolling, short, sweet, rocky road. Not loose rocks, embedded rocks you gotta kind of bounce off of and avoid.
Over the years, I've spent a lot of time in the Snowy Range, and it's one of my favorite areas. You get a little bit of that alpine feel, lakes, streams, moose everywhere. That section is close to Colorado. It has those epic mountain views, but there's something else there. It feels like you're in a different state. There's less people, less crowded, and just some stunning vistas. Really recommend getting up there.
Now we're in the Snowy Range looking at this 180-degree view of nothing but sheer cliffs. It's incredible.
This is a pretty amazing view of the snowy mountain up here. It's exactly 12,000 feet tall, so we're pretty high, and it feels good to be nice and cool up in the mountains.
Back in 1955, an airplane carrying passengers actually slammed into the side of this mountain here. It's a great viewpoint. We're stopping to see. It's windy, but this is a great spot. Right up here is Medicine Bow Peak, which is the tallest mountain in the Snowy Range area.
Okay, so here we are at the creek crossing. Bryce has been talking about it all day today. When they were scouting, they've never been able to get through it because it was very deep.
I know we can do it. We checked it out, saw that there were some challenges with the way that the cement blocks were separated.
Things like this, water crossings, or things that are technical, sometimes I think it's better to just roll it while you're warmed up. So I didn't go pre-scout it like everybody else did. I just rolled up and went for it. And it was a little bit of a drop off and a little bit of a step up on this other side, but the water crossing wasn't so bad. It was just getting into it and getting out of it, which were a little challenging, but I had fun. I'm glad I made it.
It was a huge drop off into the water and then climb up the other end. Unfortunately, I killed the engine on the way up. I forgot that the bike has amazing technology that will hold you on a hill until you can take off. It felt so good. Every single person when they got to the other side of that water crossing had a huge smile on their face. It was amazing.
Doesn't matter how you do it, but if you get across, you get across.
Perhaps sometimes it's better not to even know what's coming ahead and just roll with it, and instead of like build it up in your head, and sometimes it's not as bad as you might think.
We could do it again 5 more times. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. But we don't want to.
Really, the whole day was fun. It was either really amazing vistas or just really fun, slow, technical riding. So the whole day was wonderful.
What happened?
So I think I clipped the tree with my pannier. So just a little tip over, nothing.
Okay.
Nothing exciting.
Do you want some help picking that up?
Yes, please.
Well, we got a little issue here.
We can stand on it, ride over it.
Well, no, we can get a rock under here and just break the end off at least.
I'll hold it down and you jump on it.
Yes.
Good engineering team.
You're in the woods and, you know, there are trees down and it's super rocky, it's technical. It was amazing to see the bike just take every step all the way up each rock. It was amazing.
The ride up to Kennedy Peak was fantastic. It was just incredible views, a fun road getting up there.
The most challenging point on the trip so far has been the switchbacks going up to Canada Peak, and I got through it by looking through the turns and just remembering all of the training that I've done at the BMW Performance Center.
This amazing view, 360. The whole of Wyoming is right here.
The road is probably moderate condition. It's got rocks, but it's not technically difficult, but it's also not smooth, and the traction can be loose at times. So just budget an hour and you should be good.
I think Wendy's taken me up on my offer to ride her bike down the exposure section. She doesn't love heights, and switchbacks downhill with some exposure is not her jam, so I'm gonna ride her bike down and then hoof it up and then ride my bike down.
You know, white knuckle, it's a fear of heights, so everything sort of closes in and then I feel like I'm just gonna black out, which is not cool.
And there goes Paul, the long walk up the hill. Wendy's got her bike here. She's all good. Yay, you're back with us.
And I feel so much better.
Oh, good.
Good job. Yeah, thanks. Oh, man. Are you hungry?
Yeah.
We had to change our plans. Today was the second day in a row we were gonna go camping, but today was a really long day, and the team members want to take a shower and have a nice sleep tonight. So we, on the fly, changed plans, and it looks like a hotel nearby has rooms for us available. So part of the group will go there, and some of us are gonna finish the route, and hopefully tomorrow everybody is gonna be ready to roll again.
It requires a lot of stamina. We're on an adventure, we're on a journey, and when it gets hard, you can't focus on that. You have to focus on the greater good and what you're out there doing.
So we've been riding a road that we call the Mystery 115. Found these amazing buildings in this old ghost town called Carbon. There's probably 20 other buildings. Oh, wow. They're a lot smaller. Some of them were probably homes.
This building we're looking at was a general store, and it was also a bank that was incorporated on December 9th, 1881.
The cemetery was most active from 1868 to 1902.
And then that was the first burial of the stable boss that was killed by the Indians while he was searching for lost mules.
We just left the Carbon Cemetery. Now we're coming into this wind farm. A picture-perfect ending to day 2 on the Wyoming BDR.
At the beginning, I was like, man, this is going to be a long trip. How am I going to make it through 7 or 8 days of riding at this level the whole time? If I was to change something for myself, I would probably try and hotel it. Well, as far as the lodging goes, you got to be prepared for anything. You know, it's not high-end and it's not camping, it's somewhere in the middle, and if you need to get a good night's sleep, it's better than sleeping in your tent, for me anyway.
I'm doing a bed bug inspection because those things, they'll roll with you for a long time. But I think we're gonna be okay.
Okay, it's early in the morning. We are in Medicine Bow starting day 3. We're a little bit behind schedule, as is typical for day 3. But we just had a wonderful breakfast here at the Virginian. We've got a little more mileage to make up today, so we're getting an early start.
Today we're riding 265 miles, something like that. 265 miles. So we got to ride smart. It's going to be a tough day. So we are approaching the Shirley Mountains. We'll be riding these rural country roads here, and then we will start climbing up the edge of the Shirleys with a pretty precipitous drop-off.
And the name of the road we're on is Difficulty Road, so I'm a little excited about that.
Well, the ride so far this morning is beautiful through these rolling hills, the mountains in the background, but it seems like we're going to be getting on a more technical train going up the mountain soon. Wendy decided she is going to skip the technical section, so we split the group and 2 of them are going to meet up with us later in Alcova.
I didn't feel safe going up Shirley Mountain on the switchbacks with the exposure, and Jocelyn was kind enough to come with me because you always want to buddy up on rides like this.
Injuring my back right before a big ride that wasn't ideal. But what's interesting, I guess, is once I get in the zone and I'm riding and I'm seeing some of this beautiful scenery and having a good time on the tracks and talking on the intercom with my friends, I actually kind of forget about it. And so I think riding is the best medicine.
Probably halfway up into the Shirley Mountains. We're looking down to the north. This is what's called Shirley Basin.
One of the coolest sections was the Shirley Mountains loop, which was some interesting landscape because we were in kind of a high desert area, and it was a little bit different from any other section on the route. The second half of it was just some fun, flowy two-tracks and ruts. Just really had a chance to blast through this section of Wyoming that I'd never seen and really enjoyed it.
It was a little bit rutty, a little bit sandy, a little bit rocky, super fun, kind of fast-flowing road. I just really enjoyed it. Like, this is the BDR Gold for me.
I think it was the right choice to skip the very beginning part with the elevation for me, but the rest of it was just amazing riding, and I'm super glad that we got to hook into that. For my first BDR being in Wyoming, I was really curious what the terrain was going to be like. We've had a lot of different terrain. We've had ruts and rocky sections and water crossings, and then we'll have these moments where the gravel road just sort of opens up and it's just big sky country.
There's going to be lots of wide open spaces, lots of different colors in the landscape. It goes through a very scenic part of the state. A part of the state that is not overloved. In other words, it's a place where you're still going to have a lot of solitude. And I think that a lot of the route is going to be like that.
All right, so this is your gas stop. We're in the town of Alcova, and this is Sloan's. They serve breakfast pizzas inside there. We just had one of those, so it's like a pizza with sausage and eggs and everything, so that's kind of cool. And then the last thing I noticed in there is that they have little Ziploc bags with lunches to go. So you get like a sandwich and some chips and stuff like that, and a little Ziploc to go bag for lunch. So whether you eat here or on the road, this is definitely one of those places you're gonna stop at when you're doing the Wyoming BDR. So we're traveling past an area known as Devil's Gate, and that's off to the right. But this section was once part of the Oregon Trail, that historic passageway across the United States that so many people traveled on went through this area here. Devil's Gate is over here to my right, in between these two different rock formations. Now we're heading on this two-track going out to the Beaver Rim. Okay, this is definitely got some sandy and muddy sections, so you got to be on your toes.
Getting up there was a little tricky, and there was some squirrely, sandy, rocky climbs to get up to where we needed to go. But again, it was worth it.
It was hard, it was technical, there was a lot of sand and then big rocks, but I made it, so I'm super excited. In the training at the Performance Center, they really do prepare us for this type of terrain, but it's a totally different world when you get out here into the real world and you're actually doing it, but it's awesome. I love it.
Yay,
yeah.
So well.
Thank you.
Good job.
As we made our way up to the Beaver Rim, huge view for as far as you could see, and then this track just twists and winds along the edge of the rim. It was such a blast. You had to kind of be on point and really pay attention, And it was difficult paying attention because all of a sudden we opened up to this canyon, you know, along the rim. It was just stunning.
But this is rolling double track with sagebrush all over and stuff in the middle and ruts on both sides.
Felt like I was riding with my friends. I was riding with my friends, of course, but you know what I mean. I didn't feel like we were working, and it just invigorated. You just got this extra energy, and we were just having a great time riding through those rolling 2 tracks. And you know, everywhere you were on those 2 tracks, you just had this beautiful panoramic view. It was pretty special.
It's this perfect 2-track, and it just meanders right along this rim that has these expansive views, super flowy fun factor. I mean, we were just talking the whole time in the headsets about how much fun it was.
Some people might get pooped partway through and want to bail, but if you like this kind of riding, I think you'll just have a great time from end to end. But it's long. This is the east-west cross from one mountain range to another, and it kind of had to happen that way.
The days have been really long on this trip, and some of the folks are getting a little tired after 8 or 9 hours, so we are going to split the group, and we're going to send a few people back to the hotel a little early while we do the second half of Beaver Rim right now.
There are several bail points, 2 major ones in the middle.
I don't need 20 more miles of sand. Surprise sand.
Those are points where you can bail out to the highway to the south and then continue west to Atlantic City. It's nice to have these because otherwise you'd be stuck in here and you don't have any options, but these are both nice roads. We were challenged with this route to connect up the mountain ranges in the south and the mountain ranges in the north. The rest of the state and the center part of the state is high, vast desert. We discovered some gems like the Beaver Rim that became our signature piece of the crossover, and it worked out great, but that was a real challenge. You know, if we didn't have this cliff to follow, it would be pretty monotonous, right? You'd feel like you're just out in this Serengeti or whatever, but here...
You get these big reveals. You come up a hill and then it reveals this canyon.
You know, some of the team bailed out at sort of the halfway point back there, and I feel like they're really missing out on the best part of this, so my suggestion would be if you come up here and ride this BDR, do the entire Beaver Rim, because it really gets pretty epic. If you like this kind of riding, you'll get miles and miles of enjoyment riding up and down these hills alongside the Beaver Rim.
Getting a little tired, so got a little squirrely. Took a little detour into the sage, but luckily got back on track. Definitely, I mean, probably the most unique section so far on this route. At one point, could barely see the track. It was blissful. It was beautiful. We're kind of on a 2-track with a lot of really deep ruts. Ina chose a line that had a deep rut, and she didn't want to drop into the rut, so there was a tiny little patch at the top that she was trying to kind of ride along, and finally just collapsed, and the bike just... I mean, I almost ran over her head, number one. I was so scared. I had to swerve around her head, and I just literally dropped my bike on the side to run back because I really thought she got hurt. But she's such a trooper, man. I mean, she was up before I could even get to help her pick up her bike.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't feel like a bad fall, you know. I think it's all the yoga I do. Like, I just get up, like nothing is hurting except the mirror is gone. Yeah. So I'm hoping I can steal a mirror from our spare bike. I'm just glad I didn't roll over your head. I know. That was awesome though. Well done. Man, what a fun section. Jeez. Yep, for sure. However, we're like on the 13th hour of riding today, so definitely like, you know, making mistakes so late into the evening is very possible. So I'm looking forward to getting into the hotel and having some dinner. For sure. Some of the most challenging days or sections of the route are the ones you would remember the most. For me, that was definitely the highlight, the whole trip. I think what I remember the most is just being with my friends and not working at that particular moment, but just having so much fun. And that's like the moments you live for in the BDR.
That was a day and a half. Wow.
It was amazing. It was beautiful. Beautiful and long.
Hopefully the longest day of the trip.
It's the longest of the trip, and the longest of any BDRs that I've done so far. So,
Yeah, man, it took some stamina, but definitely worth it. Definitely worth it.
It was beautiful right to the last couple of miles. Sunset, it was gorgeous.
I would guess that would be considered more than one section. I wouldn't advise anyone to ride 13 hours on that, but it was a lot of fun. A lot of good memories.
Atlantic City was...
All righty, everybody. We're back here at Seattle headquarters. If you just joined us late, I'm Paul Gillian. This is my co-host, Ina Thorne. Well, we've loved following the chat and seeing what everybody's talking about in the chat. Thank you for being there. We've got Jocelyn Snow that's answering questions, and our president, Tim James, and other board member, Bill Whitaker, that's there. And then what's the gentleman's name that did our custom score?
Well, it's Chris Wilson, everybody, all the way from Hollywood.
Yeah, so this is the first film that we've had completely custom score music done just for the BDR. So that was pretty special, and he's also in the chat. So it's been good to see him there. And for those of you at home that are playing a drinking game that we heard about, I would like to say remote. So some of the questions that we saw in there, people were unsure exactly how to donate. So Ina, break it down for guys like me who are not tech savvy. Where do I go to make this donation so I can get the sweet t-shirt?
Okay, so go to our main website, ridebdr.com/Wyoming, and you can use the donate button on that page. Or if you're like Paul and don't know what I'm talking about, just go to ridebdr.com. At the very top, there's a support button, and click donate there, which is our general donation button. And anybody who donates $50 or more tonight will get a t-shirt. So whichever way you donate will get your donation. Don't forget to put your t-shirt size number, t-shirt size. If you forgot that, no problem. We'll contact you. So everybody who donates $50 or more will get their t-shirt.
Yes. Well, thank you guys. We hope that you're enjoying the film. Many of you have put questions in the chat or sent questions ahead of time. So we're going to do a little bit of a Q&A session here. And there's nobody better to answer questions about the Wyoming BDR than our BDR co-founder and Wyoming route architect, Bryce Stevens. So we're going to go to Bryce Stevens and hear straight from him answers to your questions.
All right. Thank you, Paul and Ina. And thank you, viewers, for tuning in to tonight's live broadcast. And now the main event right here in intermission, sitting with the man himself, BDR co-founder and Wyoming BDR route architect, Bryce Stevens. Bryce, it's great to have you here during intermission, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good to see you, Derek.
Yeah, well, I tell you, we're right in the middle of the film right now, so we won't spoil the end because there is a little bit of a surprise involving you. And some of the questions we got for tonight's Q&A revolved around that, but we're not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen the film. So with that said, why don't we dive right into some of our top questions that we sourced from the BDR community? Are you ready to go?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So starting off here. So this is from Peter Cook. Peter has ridden the Mid-Atlantic route twice, but he's wondering, he's still a novice rider. He's still kind of getting his feet underneath him. Do you think he can handle the Wyoming BDR? And I'll just jump in and I'll say, hey, Peter, you only live once, man. You got to have a story to tell. So go for it. But from the man who's actually ridden the route and created it, what do you think for Peter? Do you think that he should ride the Wyoming BDR this summer?
That's a good question. I'd say yes. I would describe the Wyoming as a moderate technical route. If you don't include the expert sections here are pretty hard. The rest of it is very rideable. There's a couple sections like the Beaver Rim where if you don't like loose stuff, some of the challenges might be tougher for you. But like you said, let's go for it, and you'll get through it. Just work with your team and work your way through it.
Well, I think that's great advice. And, rise to the challenge too. Take it seriously. Practice, go out on some easy trails near your home, work your way up and get as good as you can get in the season, but then go give it a shot. Ride your ride. If you get to a spot where you're uncomfortable, turn around and go back or work your way through it. It's not a race. It's not Dakar. Just go out there, ride it, have fun. And, at the end of the day, BDRs are about seeing the sights and doing just that. So I'm with you, Bryce. I say, Peter, give it hell. Go go do it. Why not?
Go for it.
With that, we've got another question. This one comes from Brian Baker, who's his handle, I guess, is Adventure Before Dementia. So speaking of going for it, and you only live once, right? More good advice there in Brian's handle. But Brian wants to know, do you think there are enough open or primitive campsites along the route to negate having reservations?
Yes, for sure. There are campgrounds, established campgrounds and dispersed campgrounds all around, especially in the forests. And we strung together as many national forests as we could. But yes, dispersed camping is definitely available. Wyoming in general has pretty good lodging. There's a lot of options. It just takes planning ahead and making sure you have all the right equipment.
Right. And, I think that's one of the things that we always like to talk about. Wyoming is probably going to have the shortest riding season if you want to do the entire route of any of the BDRs. We're talking about July, August, maybe a little bit of early September. But keep that in mind if you are a hotel camper, that you may want to make these reservations well in advance and give yourself plenty of time too, just because you never know, flat tire here or there. You don't want to be stressing out about getting to your next reservation. So there's a little bonus tip from your friend here at your friend Derek here at BDR, right? All right. So let's see what else we've got on the list here, Bryce. We talked a little bit with Peter about his experience on the Mobber, and we told Peter to go for it. But in general, what level of off-road skill, and this is such a tough question always, right? Because how do you gauge level of off-road skill? But what do you think, what level of off-road skills?
This your first BDR or even your second BDR, unless you did one of the hardest ones first, and that was your litmus test. Just know that you're confident on your bike, your machine, and you can get yourself out of sticky situations. This route, for the most part, is very rideable.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. It looks like we had a little internet problem, so we're going to go live here for a few minutes while the control room wrestles that problem into a solution. I want to throw a quick shout out to our friends at the 10 Sleep Brewery. They're Justin Smith and team. They were kind enough to host us in the film, so that we saw them in the chat. They're standing by, so that is great. We want to answer a few more questions that we just heard. Robert, what were some of the questions that you had for us? I think one of them was, is this an okay route to ride solo on? And the answer is emphatically no. None of the BDRs are ideal or even smart to be ridden solo. Couple of things: riding with a group or with a team is always more fun anyway. So we highly recommend that. But really, no matter how good of a motorcyclist you are, things can happen, whether it's a car that pulls out in front of you or a antelope that jumps into your line of travel. So really, we highly encourage people to not do it solo. It's just there's no glory in that. It's a lot safer and a lot more fun to have a beer at the end of the day after a fantastic ride with your teammates.
Any other questions?
Yeah, what's the most difficult part of filming for us? I think Ina and I will agree that it's we have to do these things in a relatively short amount of time, and we only have one take to do it. So we might have 10 days total. And, there's things mechanicals that can happen with the bikes. There's getting drones lost or broken or stuck in trees or in rivers. There's a lot of things that can fight you, and really just time is the biggest problem. We just never have enough time. We even put extra days in the planning sometimes, but things happen, adventure happens, and you just start falling behind. That's really, I think, the biggest challenge. Anything else you would say?
Yeah, I would say this, just, 1 or 2 flat tires a day and you're set back a number of hours. And so then you have to kind of make a decision, maybe you send half of the team to continue on and then a couple people back to help the person.
Of course, the film crew would probably have a different answer because those poor guys have to work all day long, just like full tilt, 100%. We get to camp and we set up our tent. We're sitting by the fire, having a drink, eating dinner. Those guys are backing up footage, archiving, charging batteries, cleaning lenses, fixing equipment. So for those guys, it's really just the long days. They never end. I think someone asked, what do we consider a long day? And, I don't know. For filming, we really don't want to be on the bikes more than 8 hours or 9 hours. And on this one, there were, I think day 1 was 11 hours, day 2 was 12 hours, day 3 was 13 hours. So you don't want to do that. That was really horrible. And it really caused some strains on what we were doing. And it's just not safe. The whole idea of a BDR is to get out there, explore the backcountry, to have fun. You want to be able to have that second cup of coffee in the morning. You want to be able to stop and enjoy that sunset or whatever, the beautiful scene, whatever it is, or even talking to locals. Some of the biggest highlights of these are just chatting with the locals. Jocelyn is amazing at it. You stop at a construction thing with the stop and the slow guy, and she's, off the bike talking to them, just learning about what life's like there for the locals. So,
any other questions? Should we move on?
Yeah. Are there additional tools that you think people should take on a route like this?
Tool man, you want to take?
Yeah, I mean, certainly having a little travel toolkit is good. We own Cruise Tools now, but before we did, I always brought a Cruise Tools kit with me. It's been on every single BDR. So you want to bring the tools you need to adjust things, to fix anything that might break on the bike. You always want to have tire repair. So you want to have extra tubes, even if it's a tubeless tire. You want to have levers, a pump, baling wire, duct tape, sort of the essentials. So that's basically what you need. You just got to be able to get that bike rolling and get it back to somewhere for major service, or to someone that can actually work on it if there's something major.
I do want to mention we do have a Q&A for every route on the website. So if you have any questions, remember to look there, or you can always email us as well.
Yeah. Control room, how are we doing? You guys feeling all right?
Well, we're looking like we might have some internet connectivity issues, but let's plow forward here.
Okay.
And see if we can move along as planned.
Yep. Okay. So there might be some internet gremlins, but we're going to proceed, and hopefully you guys can hear this. So you may have heard that the next BDR route is the long-anticipated Oregon BDR. So that will be route number 12 for us, and that should be released next year. So early next year, 2023, so less than 12 months away. And for me, Oregon is special because that's where this whole thing really started. Someone else created a cross-state route in Oregon back in the late 90s. I was lucky enough to ride it in 2009 when I just started with Touratech, and we brought a film guy and a cameraman with us, and we created some content that got some traction. And then fast forward more than a decade, we created a nonprofit, and we've developed 11 routes. This one, Wyoming, being the 11th route. And so the cool thing is we've gone back to Oregon and created a completely different route that is more similar to the other routes that we've created. It's certainly cross-state, north to south, goes on the high elevation, low usage. He sees some of the best features of Oregon, which also happens to be quite remote. And so we're going to have free GPS tracks, a Butler map, documentary, the whole 9 yards, and we just can't wait to share that with you next year.
Yep. And we also have a great opportunity for aspiring filmmakers, or really anybody who loves to document their BDR adventures. And that is our annual BDR Film Festival that's coming up in October. This is going to be the 3rd year that we're hosting the film festival. So save the date, join us for another film festival broadcast happening in October. We'll broadcast the day soon here. But in the meantime, if you ride the routes in the next 4 months, put your creative BDR hat on and make a 100-second BDR film, and then you can submit it to the film festival.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for more information about the film festival.
The film festival is so much fun. We really enjoy watching the films. And you don't have to be a filmmaker. Just everybody gets out there and loves telling their story. So if you have a story to tell it in 100 seconds and enter our film. Okay, so hopefully the internet permitting and control room permitting, we can play you the next half of the film, and then you'll want to make sure to stay tuned because we have a really big announcement that we're going to make at the end. So enjoy the second half of the film. Stay tuned so we can talk about that big announcement.
The longest ever trip, and the longest of any BDR.
Of lodging. If you picture an old mining town from the frontier days, this is postcard perfect.
Wild Bill, we stayed in his lodge called Miner's Delight in Atlantic City. Wild Bill has lived in that little mining town 22 years, and he bought the lodge 3 years ago, and so he's definitely looking forward to welcoming all the BDR riders to his lodge.
And this is the town of South Pass City, an old historic town that's been sort of turned into a living museum. It's really, really well done, the way they put it together with all the old buildings having been restored and actual full-size dioramas or models of the interiors of shops and bedrooms and dining rooms, and gives you a glimpse of what life may have looked like back in the 1800s when this town was a much more thriving and prosperous city.
So we are here on the Wyoming BDR in the southern end of the Wind River Range Mountains, and we're on a very twisty, kind of fast gravel road.
And it's a very high traffic area. There's a lot of activity. We've seen side-by-sides and cars. So this is a place where it's really important to ride right, which means stay in the far right-hand side of the road, and don't be tempted to cut corners dipping over to the left side, because that's where the problem can occur. So please stay in the far right the entire time, all of the time, but especially in high traffic areas like this.
This appears to be one of those really fun pavement sections that you get on a BDR route occasionally. It's a real nice break from riding in the dirt when you get to find a road like this. Great views, a dozen or so hairpin curves, good asphalt. This is a primo section of Wyoming BDR pavement right here. It only takes about 5 minutes to get down from there, but really one of the best pavement sections on a BDR ever. You're gonna really enjoy that one. We're gonna go to a place called Sinks Canyon, this river that flows into the ground. So there's where it goes in, there's where it comes out.
We are at the rise of the Popo Agi. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Bryce, it's pronounced Poposia.
But it's at Sinks Canyon State Park. We went to the other end where the water goes underground, travels through limestone fissures, and then bubbles up here at this spring, and the fish love it for whatever reason. But this is a pretty cool spot.
Wind up and just cast it way out there.
Yeah, I want to get way up.
Big wind up.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh my God, that is so cool.
Look at these towering rock walls in front of us. Just beautiful.
You know, today the highlight is the descent from Cottonwood Pass down to Tinsley. The rest of the day we're just going to be putting in our time to get there, but it's going to finish really well.
There's a lot of mountain ranges, but also a lot of the state is taken by oil development. So it was a challenge for our route development team to figure out the best route.
Oil, gas, and coal extraction are the biggest part of the Wyoming economy still. You'll definitely see some of the extraction industries at work.
We can see the team stopped here now at this warning sign. It says poison gas area. Do not enter when the lights are flashing.
What kind of gas is it? Just poisonous? Poisonous from what?
I don't know. Does it really matter? It's poisonous.
Yeah, I guess we don't want to. So. I gotta tell you what, there was some poisonous gas in the hotel last night.
There definitely.
You know, maybe that's where they store Bryce's socks.
It could be.
That could be, huh?
Oh man. All right, we're on to the adventure.
All right, off we go. I think this is probably the most remote BDR of them all. The whole time, you just feel like you're out in the middle of nowhere. Even when you stop in the little towns, you blink and you're already out of the town and back into the woods. So at any point on the BDR, you can feel like you're out in the middle of nowhere. If you want to get away from the hustle and bustle of the real world, the Wyoming BDR is definitely a place to just relax and have a good time. So we've made it past the halfway point. And all the bikes still rolling. Everybody's still going.
Really? It seems like we've been at it for like 10 days.
What are you doing down there, Paul? Napping? Little shade nap?
It was great to get the support of BMW Motorrad USA on this Wyoming project. I mean, it just made sense that the brand that is so deeply rooted in the adventure riding community for 4 decades would team up with BDR. The decision to have their guest rider be one of the instructors from the BMW US Riding Academy worked out really well. I mean, what a great opportunity to showcase the BMW GS in the environment it was really built to ride in, and then having one of their trained instructors behind the bars, it worked out really great.
The bike that I'm riding for this trip is the 2021 BMW R1250 GS Rally. It is handling like a dream.
None of the BDR team had ever met Wendy before, besides a brief phone call to help prep her for the experience. So when we learned that she had never done a multi-day adventure ride, let alone a 1,000-mile expedition before, honestly, we weren't really sure what to expect. Sure, she had the riding skills, but traveling for 2 weeks off your motorcycle in the backcountry, that requires a whole other set of skills.
So the reason that I'm at the BDR now, the reason that I decided to take this trip, you always say yes to the adventure, you know, make life a ride. And after training at the Performance Center, some of the best training that you can do is seat time and peg time. Get out there into the real world and do that riding. And then also, I really want to be an inspiration for people. You know, I have such limited off-road experience.
She was a bit nervous at the start of the ride, but once her first-time jitters settled down, Wendy found her BDR groove and fit right in with the team.
It was really impressive to watch her progression over the course of the expedition. You could see that she was putting all of her training experience to the test. Wyoming has everything she had trained for and a lot more.
Eyes up, stay loose, you can get through anything.
I think Wendy really benefited from the experience, and with this newfound BDR perspective, I think she's going to go back to the Performance Center a more experienced and more inspirational instructor.
Tinsley seemed like an artsy little town. The main street was bustling.
Rolling into town, you instantly get a sense that this is a fun, funky little area. We stopped downtown, had an ice cream, had a coffee. One of the places we stayed at was the Tinsley Brewery.
We have obviously beer, great beer. We have
camping that used to be kind of an ad hoc mess, and this year we cleaned it up and put in actual camp spaces. We have brewery food. We quite often have food trucks on the weekends, tons of live music, pretty much every weekend all summer. And it's just a really cool little community melting pot and meeting place out there.
It was a really cool experience to be able to just camp so close to town but feel like you were disconnected from it just enough. And I'd love to go back and spend a little bit of time in town and see what else there is to offer.
Make sure you stop there and just explore the little town. That's like one of the things I wished we had more time for, is to explore Ten Sleep.
We started out with what we call the Old Highway, and it starts at the fish hatchery near Lee Creek in the canyon. We go about 13 miles up the Old Highway. We've been discovered by the sport climbing crowd, and so we're probably one of the top 2 or 3 spots nationally for sport climbing.
Justin was the lead guy that day and took us through some of the trails that he has contributed to the BDR.
I'm happy to share the trails because the ones we are riding are all public roads. You know, there's already the public out there, and yeah, I like showing off my backyard, and so I'm happy to do so. I can't believe what you guys and gals can do on those giant bikes. I can't do any of that. It was really fun, and seeing some of the rocks and sand that you guys were handling on the big bikes was really cool. I'm on a Husqvarna 501. We don't have a ton of single track around here, but we have hundreds of miles of 2-track, and so it's a great bike for the 2-track.
You know, he's definitely a small bikes guy, and he was up there up front. We put the 2 Husqvarnas up front, and I was trying to keep up with him. But yeah, it's just always so fun to, you know, have them join us and get a taste of riding the BDR with the whole team.
I'm surrounded by 3 million acres of public land in Ten Sleep. We have 2 million acres of BLM and 1 million acres of national forest right out my front door. So we spend as much time as possible out in the dirt or on the snow. We are right on the eastern edge of the Bighorn Mountains. You're looking out over the Cloud Peak Wilderness area.
Ride right, side by sides. So you roll up to a closed gate, you open it, you ride through, you close it. If you come up to the gate and it's open, you leave it open. Woo! That was so fun. Oh my God. That was a blast.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
I want the
hook. Thank you for that. I love that stuff. That was a fun section with some ruts and rocks. I was taking it slow in the corners because, you know, this is the 5th day. I just want to make it to the end.
So I was following you, rolling the helmet camera as we were going through some of those water bars, and you skied off of one of them and landed in a depression. And that bike hit so hard that I'm pretty sure the geology department's going to pick that up on the Richter scale at the Wyoming University. It hit so hard.
And coming into the forest with all the trees lined on both sides, super tight twisties, and you come around each corner and it's like, surprise, something different, you know? The rock gardens, the sand.
Did it feel like this?
It did, I did.
That's the way to do it up here.
That's the way to do it, man, you know? I don't have to worry about balance. This is so cool. So you're from Ten Sleep?
Yeah.
It's awesome to have Jocelyn on the trip. She's one of those people who can come up and talk to anybody and find a common topic, and they would be chatting with her and loving her like from the moment they meet her.
That was neat. Where are you going?
Just out for a drive.
It's
great to ride these technical and challenging roads and see some of the scenery, but the best part for me is always the people, and it's the people that we're riding with and the people that we meet along the way.
This looks like a kick in the pants. I wish I'd come with you.
There's another seat.
Yeah. You guys mind if I hook a ride? Pleasure, thank you. What's your name?
Marty.
Marty Jocelyn.
Glad to meet you.
Pleasure.
I got to ride with Wendy a lot in the first couple of days, and it was pretty interesting seeing her perspective on things. She comes from the training school, which is closed course, lots of slow speed technical riding. It's on the BDR, it's just coming at you all day, hour after hour, and the obstacles get mixed up. We were on the headsets and she was like, oh my God, sand and rocks, that's not fair, you know? And it was just, there's roots and rocks and ruts and all these different things coming at you. And so she was trying to process that and figure out what technique to use.
Lots of obstacles out here on this section. You know, take it easy on the corners because you come around and it's just deep sand.
I need longer legs. If you don't have momentum, you don't have much.
There were a couple of falls in the sand, which is always fun when everybody comes out of it the other side laughing.
Okay. Now we go.
Oh, brave move. I'm glad it worked out. It wouldn't have worked out on it. Yeah. Oh, geez, Louise.
So for this section, I ran my suspension in max, which is as high as it'll go. It's better for the soft stuff and the technical stuff, especially the jagged rocks. I don't hit my skid plate or my foot pegs, but I can't touch the ground for anything. That's the only problem.
So we just rode skirting the hills here, a little bit of red dirt. When it's dry, I think it's an intermediate road. You know, I consider myself an intermediate rider, and I think as long as you go slow and pay attention and pick your line, that's a totally doable ride.
On top it's gray bentonite, and down here it's red clay. Both of those are a bad idea to do when wet and pretty much impassable.
Okay. I was just gonna say it's a little muddy there. I'm gonna put the helmet back on, carry on, and be a lot more mindful of this this dark colored surface here because it's slippery.
Wyoming state is called the equality state. It was the first state that elected a woman governor, and it was the first state in the nation that gave women voting rights. So it's kind of fitting that now we have an equal amount of men and women on this trip. Girl power!
It definitely changes the dynamic having more women on the trip. You know, I can't explain exactly how, but it was really fun, and some of us didn't know each other and got along really well. So I think it was pretty cool.
It's funny in Wyoming, it seems like there are either easy roads, back roads, or there are rugged, difficult roads. We did find some great rolling, flowy, double track that people are just going to love. But it was hard to find that stuff. You know, I want the community to tell me how hard this is, because I think it's moderate level with hard and easy, but it might be that they think it's quite hard because the hard sections are quite hard.
I like the fun riding, the two-track, twisty, flowy, uppy, downy, a little bit of technical. And all of the routes have some of that, but some of them that's maybe 10% or 20%. And I felt like 60, 70% of this route was like super fun.
I feel a lot more accomplished being able to get through all of these obstacles. I'm really ready to take on the next challenge.
She's got grit and courage, and she pressed on through this. Her speed was getting better and better and better until this last day. Today I look in my mirror and she's right there.
It was really fun to be there with her in the beginning days and then to see her at the end of the days and just seeing the sense of accomplishment that she had. It was really quite nice.
It's not even about who is a woman, who is a man. It's all about you as a person and whether or not you have the stamina, the grit, the drive to be a part of this team. That's why BDRs are so great. You progress as a rider, you progress as a teammate, and you can just feel so proud of this accomplishment because it is a great accomplishment.
Each time we do one of these expeditions, there's always some days that really stick in my head. And one of them was the final ride up to the Painted Rock Lodge. The trail ride out to the campground was so awesome, and the campsites were all along the lake. I think that was my favorite evening out of all of them.
Swimming time.
Wow, that's cold.
It was so nice, so refreshing. Oh my God, I feel so much better.
We're gonna go have dinner in a cool old historic lodge tonight.
How amazing is that?
I think the rooms are really cool, and I like the wood, the logs, and then you can see the lake, right? And the beds are so comfy. I hope when people go out and ride this BDR, they get a chance to go to the lodge and camp along that lake. I think that was my favorite evening out of all of them.
Now we get to have a campfire. We got marshmallows, chocolate, graham crackers. There's trees for hammocks. This is a little bit of BDR paradise.
I think my favorite spot that we've stayed the night so far on the route has been the Painted Rock Lodge. The lodge is really cozy and comfortable, so it's like got a great night's rest. And then you wake up and you're in the living room and he's got a fire and he's got these cute little dogs and just beautiful trees and lake. That was definitely my favorite.
My advice to anyone that's looking to ride this route would be to make sure that you are completely prepared.
Really, this is a route that requires, I think more than any other BDR, requires self-sufficiency. You should have a spot device or a satellite phone, extra water, extra fuel if you don't have good range on your bike, first aid supplies, tools, tubes, all that stuff, because you might be in the middle of a section and have an issue, and it might be hours before somebody gets to you.
You know, I must have pinch flatted. There's a lot of embedded rocks, very large embedded rocks. I don't remember hitting one that hard, but maybe it was a real super sharp one.
Bryce, we're gonna help make this situation a little better by taking advantage of it. We're gonna make some espresso. How's that sound? Put the lid on, lock it down, and then we pump it. Gotta get it to like a certain PSI. It's a little bit of a workout.
I pulled the core out. Thank you so much. This is disappointing because we really need to make some speed today. There's a chance for a storm, and this is just not what we needed. So we'll do this as fast as we can.
Yeah.
This section, which goes over Woodchuck Pass, starts hard, and then it finishes with another expert section that's very, very tight in the trees, almost like a slalom course. The team's been giving me crap about my recollection of all these expert sections.
And he's like, well, you know, it's
probably got some rocks, but maybe not so many, or like, oh, there are super deep ruts, but maybe it's okay. It's probably not hard. It might be hard, but probably just a little hard, but not much.
I just gotta ask who wants to go. You know, it's gonna be technically challenging, and our team is deciding to split up here.
The first 2 miles were very challenging, gradual uphill with rocks and ruts, and you know, you've really got to keep your momentum going.
I would say, compared to Bridger Peak, that Woodchuck, for me at least, felt a little bit harder. You really had to pick your lines, and there was sections where there were no good lines. You kind of had to just pick and choose where you wanted to go and commit and get through.
The expert sections of this route are pretty challenging. I don't know why I always just go for the expert route. To me, it seems like that's where all the fun is. I wouldn't want to go around it and then have all the guys get off the expert section and say, oh, it was the best thing ever, you should have seen it, it was crazy, and there were ruts and rocks, and then I would be like, no, I missed it. I'm so glad that I decided to do it. At first I wasn't sure. A lot of people were saying they didn't want to do it, and then I kind of got a little apprehensive. I don't think I would have done these expert sections had I been out here riding this route by myself or solo.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Oh yeah, I like that. Hold on. Okay.
I think if you've got a good team with you, then you can get through anything.
I think if I can just get it rolling.
Yeah.
Be more careful on picking the line.
It wasn't pretty, but it was effective.
I've ridden a lot of Colorado passes, and this was similar, but had its own flair to it for sure. Lots of elevation gain. It was almost a deserty two-track kind of feel with lots of embedded rocks, but the views up there were phenomenal.
And then as we tipped down at the last chance to opt out, and Simon, the photographer, was on his bike next to me, and I looked at him and I'm like, are you going? And he's like, if you're going. I go, then we're going. And down over the hill we went.
The big downhill that Bryce was saying was going to be so difficult, and ended up being okay. But then 100 yards past that was a boulder field I really struggled through.
Simon took the good line. I was like, dude, I had nowhere to go, so I kind of threw myself into the rock garden, You
couldn't really see where you were going, and the bike was bucking, and it was nuts.
She just comes riding right through like a ballerina.
Maybe more like a bull in a china closet, but not a ballerina.
Nice job.
You're a badass.
No, she did take the easy line, I think.
Wait, what?
Once they cut that
You
just
took
now.
the easy line. What are you talking about?
So we are at Woodchuck Pass proper, 9,650 feet, something like that. And now you can see we're starting our decline, still in the expert section.
Where's he gonna go? There's a ranch truck up here. You okay? Oh shit. You alright, Bryce? Yeah, the dust sucks. So Paul was in the right line filming all these beautiful sheep, and I was in his dust, and I took the left line and I hit the edge of one of those ruts, and I'm telling you, it seemed like a slow speed crash, but that hurt.
We weren't going very, we were like first gear, maybe second gear, but he went down and just felt an immediate sharp pain. He knew it was bad.
Judging by the looks of that, my wrist is broken. It's pretty rare that something like that would swell up so quick. I wonder if we have an ace bandage or something we could wrap around my arm. I mean, the less it flops, the less it hurts. There you go. We put a buff around this and we actually doubled it up to make a tube that's like doubled. And then we took all of my maps for this and rolled them up in one big wad. There's probably at least 10 sheets in here. And then we put Gorilla Tape on it. I'm so mad.
So after this water crossing, I went back to see where Paul and Bryce were, and I found Paul talking to a couple of ranchers.
Howdy. Hey, just wanted you guys to know my friend I'm riding with, he crashed. He broke his wrist. He's just right up the way there. I'm gonna go try and catch up with my friends and see if we can get him out of here. I just wanted you guys to know he's there.
I came riding down to catch up with the crew, and I saw this rancher. He offered basically to drive Bryce out.
You want me to get him a ride?
Well, if you wouldn't mind, that'd probably be pretty helpful.
He said he was going to be heading out here soon anyway. He was dropping off water for the sheep herder that's part of that guy's ranch.
That bike's fine. I just need to get him to the hospital.
Yeah, well, I can help you that way.
Okay.
He's getting loaded up. Some friendly locals in a Jeep. We're taking him back to a rancher who's going to take him back to the main road.
Then he's a rancher his family's been raising sheep up here for 52 years. He's 4th generation. And so he knows where he is. And we don't. There's your truck.
Yep.
Dogs, we got a horse, we got all kinds of resources.
I'm totally fine. I've had a couple Tylenol. The pain's not that bad. I just got to go get some x-rays.
That looks like a lot of fun, actually.
Until
Until that.
Something stupid.
It's not. Yeah, I'm used to baby bikes.
Yes, something bad happened, but everybody stayed calm, took care of business, made a plan, bam, 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 got it done.
Well, we have to go back and retrieve the bike.
I'm going to ride in the back, and we're going to go back up into the expert section and grab Bryce's bike. I've got my feet on the rider's foot pegs, and Jocelyn's feet are on top of mine. So I think this is the first time I've been on the back of a motorcycle in probably 30 years. And there's no one I would trust more than Jocelyn Snow behind the bars.
Nice job.
Bring it in. That's my girl, Jocelyn Snow.
Probably we should just do a walk around on the bike because we don't know if there was any damage, just to make sure that you don't risk yourself any further, right? Looks like you're in good shape.
Well, it's a good thing that we caught Paul on the way back, because what didn't we have?
We didn't have the key. We got it now, so that's good news.
All right, so let's get this thing started and get back to the gang. I'm a BMW guy, but I've heard really good things about this bike. Bryce has put some really good upgrades to it. Whoa, sounds pretty sweet, I'll tell you that. And off we go. This bike is fun. Holy shit, is this bike fun. Well, I can see why Bryce gets himself in trouble with this bike. This bike is a blast to ride. Holy crow.
So now we got the bike back and we'll see what the plan is.
Yeah, we've got 3 riders and 4 bikes here, so I guess we got to sort that out, huh?
Super bummed you can't finish it, but grateful that you put it together for us.
It's been a hell of a trip. Thank you. You're welcome.
It was really sad for me to see it end that way, but thinking back, I mean, he rode 90% of this route with us. He had a blast, and his last wish as he was getting in the car to go to the hospital, his last wish was that I go ride that last little piece of the expert section, because he really wanted me and the team to experience it.
There's certain things I want these guys to ride because it's fun and because we need to. It's like part of what we're doing. I'd be really upset if they didn't.
Cam and I are going to go ride it, do a little bit of filming so that Bryce can know that someone on the team enjoyed his hard work putting that together.
Paul and I had this really great rally through the woods on Bryce's section that he made us do. It was just challenging enough. That was crazy fun.
Here's to Bryce.
Yeah.
Speedy recovery.
Bryce. Hey, Bryce. Here. Amazing route.
Great leader.
Awesome. Get well.
Texting back and forth with my oldest daughter, Hannah, who's 21 years old. I said that we saw a moose, and she said, send me the photos. And I was like, I don't really have any photos. It was so far in the distance, you could just barely see it. And then this morning, we're sitting at breakfast. Somebody said something about, there's your wildlife. I looked out the window from the dining room table and saw a full big moose with a giant rack just walk by the window. I was like, oh my God.
The name of the restaurant was Moose Crossing, and the moose was chowing on some leaves just outside the window.
I ran out the door and ended up getting a great photo framed with a canoe in the foreground. We haven't had any internet, so I haven't sent it to Hannah yet, but I cannot wait to send her some of those pictures.
So, last day, everybody. Everybody turn on your Siennas in the mesh mode, please. As adventure riders, we're fortunate to have access to vast public lands for motorized off-highway recreation. Wyoming offers miles and miles of the most spectacular landscape and diverse terrain. And so when BDR riders come to Wyoming to ride this route, I hope they will remember that this is a privilege, and it comes with a big responsibility of helping to protect the land and the environment. This means staying off private land, only camping in designated places, not disturbing wildlife, and of course leaving no trace. We are all ambassadors of the sport, and we need to remember to always be respectful to local communities, landowners, and to all those out there enjoying other forms of recreation in the backcountry.
So coming to the last day of a BDR, you've traveled, 1,000 miles or more together with this group of people that are your friends. You definitely get choked up because you spent a lot of time and a lot of miles and had some really great experiences. So for me, the last day, it's pretty emotional.
I would say that the highlight of the trip for me was riding, shoulder to shoulder with Bryce, just like the old days, and experiencing a route that was just by far, I think, the most fun BDR route that I've ridden.
I think we've done it right. We've found a mix of the right riding terrain and the right scenery.
It's one of my favorites, I think, just in terms of the camaraderie between the team, the landscapes that we went through.
I had some expectations, but it actually surpassed my expectations. I think this one is going to be a really special BDR.
I mean, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. It was an amazing 8 days, and I want to keep going.
We made some memories over the course of the last 10 days that I'll never forget.
The last possible light in the sky, I'll just keep trying to get the shots and keep filming because I know that when I go to sit down and edit the movie, I'll be really happy that I did that.
It's hard not to be excited about it. I mean, this is it. I feel like I'm not the top of my career, but at least filming the subjects I want to be filming, and I feel lucky to be here.
We're out here. There's nobody out here. We've seen almost nobody on the trail, no other adventure bikes. I think that's something for riders to be aware of, but it's also the allure of this route.
I for sure feel a sense of accomplishment getting to the end of the Wyoming BDR. We all work well together and we have fun, and that's what it's all about.
Coming up to the end, there was one section that we thought was going to be an expert section. No one had really ridden it yet, and it turned out that I think it's going to be on the main route. So that's a lot of fun, and I'm glad that that's going to be on the main route.
And then we came down this sort of hard pack, rugged downhill, and the highway's just right there. So that's it for us.
So we're about 20 miles from the official finish of the Wyoming BDR, but we're gonna have to stop right here. There's a big forest fire, and unfortunately this is the end of the line for this run of the Wyoming BDR.
Yeah, and this is really like a new reality for the BDR riders, because currently we're in August and most of the BDRs in western states, at least some sections of them are have fire. So this is the new reality that we're facing as riders, and this is kind of a fitting end, to this adventure. But yeah, we had a lot of fun, and unfortunately, we do have that section scouted, so it'll be on the map, and it is what it is.
And Looking at the upside, we rode all but 20 miles of the Wyoming BDR. We had no rain. We had great temperatures. We had pretty good visibility. There's a little bit of smoke off in the distance, but we really had a good run of the first running of the Wyoming BDR, and it was incredibly fun, beautiful. So I feel pretty grateful.
Yeah, me too.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. So this film has credits. We're going to let you watch the credits on your own time after tomorrow when it's on the YouTube channel for free. But we're going to jump into a little bit more information right now.
Yeah, we hope you all enjoyed the film. We're really proud of this route, and we know many of you are planning to ride it this summer. You will have a blast. It's going to be a great adventure. We do want to take the time to thank Wyoming Outdoor Recreation Office and the counties along the Wyoming BDR route who stepped up to support this project and believed in our mission of delivering sustainable economic relief to rural communities. And also, of course, huge thanks to all of our industry partners, including BMW Motorrad, the presenting sponsor of this route.
Yep. And just a couple of quick pointers. We had a lot of questions in chat about the route. And remember that we have a great route resources section on our website. You go to the main website, you click on the Wyoming tab, and on that you will find lodging information, where the restaurants are, where you can get gas, information on camping, and there's even a sample packing list and frequently asked questions. So it's a great place to go. And I also want to remind everybody that this is your last chance to get the commemorative t-shirt for donating $50 or more. So please, if that's something you want, go to the website, make that donation, and remember to include your shirt size and your mail to address, and Ina and the team will get those shipped off to you in the next couple of weeks. Okay, so this almost concludes our evening, but before we let you go, we have one more special announcement to make.
Did you wear your special outfit?
No,
for this?
I didn't bring the special outfit. I don't want to become too predictable, but maybe next time I will. So we're going to announce the next sweepstakes motorcycle. So the next sweepstakes bike is going to be the Husqvarna 901 Norden. So as we've done for the last few years, this is one of our major fundraisers. We take a adventure motorcycle and we make it into the ultimate dream machine. So we spare no cost. We work with our industry partners and we outfit this bike with every possible upgrade, from suspension to protection to ergonomics. Everything. It is upgraded to make this the ultimate motorcycle for riding BDR, and somebody is going to win it. Every year, Ina and I draw that number and we call somebody who can't believe that they won this dream machine. So this could be you in a couple of weeks or at some point in the very near future. When we go live with the sweepstakes, you can go on there, make a donation, enter to win.
Yeah. And Paul, guess what?
What?
We have one last announcement to make.
One more.
I know we had a lot of announcements tonight, but I think this is actually the biggest announcement that we're going to make tonight. And here it goes. To demonstrate our appreciation for the BDR community, we are making all 11 BDR films available for free on our YouTube channel. So yeah, this is a big news. We've been working hard on this, and just stay tuned for an announcement on our website and social media in the next month or so. And very soon you'll be able to watch all 11 BDR film titles for free on Ride BDR page on YouTube.
Yep. This is fantastic news. This is something we've wanted to do for years. We finally figured out how to get it done, and so it'll be happening very soon. It's just going to be amazing. People can watch any of our films, 24/7 from anywhere in the world. So I think it'll get a lot of new people interested in this form of recreation that we are just passionate about, exploring the backcountry on two wheels. So we're just really excited, and just want to remind everybody that from day one, this organization has been by the community, for the community, and this is just another way that we've figured out how to give back to all of you riders that support us. So We enjoyed spending the last 2 hours with you. Thank you so much for tuning into the program.
Yeah, that has been a wonderful evening. We're grateful to all of you who tuned in and donated tonight or supported the BDR over the years. We are definitely looking forward to continuing to serve more BDR routes and riding opportunities for you for years to come. And I think that's it. We thank you so much, and that's good night from us.
Thank you. Good night.